going to go ahead and just get started here. And I am Connie Kadansky. I help people get their ASK in gear. Now, I know in the US that makes sense. Sometime in other languages that doesn't quite make sense. And I've been a sales trainer and coach for 28 years, and I work mostly with people around the prospecting part of the sales process to be able to just really do a good job and refine their skills, their emotional and sales skills in that process. And I also teach a course on what we're doing today around um, just getting better at the whole sales process. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here on and slideshow from current slide. Here we go. So today, yes, we're going to talk about the 3 type of yeses that salespeople get. And I believe that to sell is human, and that we're always selling and persuading and convincing all day long, no matter what we do. And then we're going to have a quick poll, and then recognizing the signs that we can get when we're in the sales process with that is a counterfeit yes, it's not a committed yes, and getting to the how and really tying that up to get more confirmation and commitment from our prospects. And then it looks like we're going to have enough time and for a breakout room where you can practice. And then we'll come back and have some Q&A and takeaways. And feel free to put questions in the chat. And then Doug or Elisa, if you could just monitor that chat for me and let me know when there's a question that comes up and I'm okay to answer in the moment. So when you really look at selling, this is a model that I've modified from the Story brand model. Is we have a potential client who has a problem and they meet you, and you have expertise and tactical empathy. Tactical empathy is coming up and talked about more and more on the horizon, thanks to Chris Voss, the former FBI hostage negotiator, and really, really looking at that. And so tactical empathy is the art of influencing by articulating what the prospect is thinking and feeling, to be able to let them clearly understand that you understand their worldview and what is important to them. I believe 70% of the sale is discovering their need and engagement. So engagement, we got to engage them and discover their needs. So that tactical empathy. And it's not saying I understand, I get it. It's you actually having them feel like you understand them. And guess what? We know you have a process in whatever you do that assists them in creating a plan. And as a salesperson, you must call them into action. And so my definition of selling is solving people's problem for a profit, and it's okay. And when we do that, it helps them to be successful or helps them to avoid a kind of a failure. And so the beauty of being a member of the Global Chamber of Commerce, where connections are made on a consistent daily basis throughout the globe, is when we get a warm introduction, the prospect is already in a more trusting place with us, more of a conditional trust, wait and see. So that's the value of this kind of an organization that we all belong to. We may have some non-members on here that will be more interested in learning what we do here. And if we're just out and about in our regular marketplace, sometimes that we talk to people and they're in a low trust, they're in a resistor place, they're a little bit skeptical, and they're in self-protective mode. And so, as salespeople, what are we doing to develop that trust based influence from the very beginning of our sales process? And if you notice here, what is that line under there that is so important to develop trust is listening. Now, salespeople, guess what? The number one complaint is that salespeople simply do not listen. Pitching no longer works, and we hear with our ears and we listen with our brain. And we all have preferences, is how we listen. I have certified in a listening assessment that tells you how do you prefer to listen and how can you find out how your prospect prefers to listen so that you can really start developing that connection with them early on, and that they see you as partnering with them so that they really can have a high trust. So I'm going to pause there for any comments or questions around this particular image here. Is it all making sense? So oftentimes when we do get those counterfeit yeses, then it's because we just have not developed that trust with the prospect, or something just didn't go right from the get-go. So that is why it's so important to really look at your whole sales process. I work with a company that they paid $1 million in focus groups to find out that the word partner. And so I partner with, and I'd like to hear from Anita, is, in creating a value proposition, is I partner with, or something like that. So, Anita, do you agree with that language in helping people develop their value propositions?
So, to the extent that it's true for whatever applies to them, because partner can be many things. Like one of the currency exchange companies I used to represent, they wanted to call us partners, but that also has a legal definition. Like a partner is actually a legal definition in some cases. So I use that word very sparingly, but if it's pertinent to how you describe what you do, going through the criteria that I give, and when I teach people how to do their elevator pitches, then by all means.
Okay,
It's just that it has to be concise and pertinent to how they're using it.
yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, I see a partner as shoulder to shoulder with helping people to achieve their goal and solve their problem. So thanks, Anita. And so never split the difference. This is a must read for salespeople right now. And the thing is, an insight is about 20%. I think an insight is it's kind of good. 80% is implementation, and it's practicing these counterintuitive techniques. They're not manipulative. You're coming from a pure motive of value for the prospect and the client, and they really can open the door to fruitful conversations. And it's important to be able to not only read, understand it, but to use it. And so there are three kinds of yeses that we can get from prospects. And the number one is that counterfeit. When a prospect, have you ever had a feeling that they're just being polite? They're kind of dragging you along. They can't tell you yes, they won't tell you no. And it just is really uncomfortable, and it's an escape route. You can read that, what it does. It can be like a kind of leverage, trying to get more information out of you. And then the confirmation is, they can answer yes very genuinely, a yes or no, Or, are you the ultimate decision maker here? Is this something that you are looking for a solution? So those confirmation yeses are affirmation. However, there's not a promise or a commitment. And then that committed yes is, this yes is the real deal, where they are going to agree to meet with you, agree to a solid conversation, disclose information toward their situation, and agree that they have a problem that you can help them solve. So I'm going to go ahead and Elisa, would you go ahead and launch that poll here? It's a 2-question poll, and I think that could be very interesting here. So take a minute and answer this.
By the way, while we're doing that, Connie, loved your reference to partner. I'm biased given the title of my book is Partners on the Payroll, so I'm kind of leading in on that. And a question that I had was back on the frame that you had about where listening was on the bottom.
Yes.
I think a lot of people think they're good listeners, whether they are or are not. So one of the things that I'd be interested in you speaking to is, how do you actually determine whether you're a good listener or not?
Well, is if people are emotionally connecting with you and in the sales process, that you get them to say, that's right, not you're right, that's right.
Mm.
And when we know that people are leaning in and we get that feeling, that's one indication. And also there's a book, it's called Ego, Authority, and Failure. And it's written by Derek Gaunt, and he talks about the 5 levels of listening. And usually people are 1 or 2, where they're just listening, and because it takes calories for the brain to listen. And that's why people get fatigue. People get decision fatigue. And many salespeople are just listening long enough to speak again and to rebut.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's my answer. What's your answer? How do you know if you're being a good listener?
One, I'm inherently bad. So I've recognized that as a challenge. I think it's because I'm a combination of impatient and bright. So I'm always looking to get to an endpoint. One of the things that I found to be helpful, though, I'm having a conversation with a referred client in an hour and a half, is I've learned to ask them, why are they interested? In other words, usually your mindset is to tell them why they should be interested. But I find if you just ask them, this works obviously in referred situations, not so much in others, that helps me.
Yes, and that's a really good point, to find out what is their deepest why. And when they tell you why, and then you say, what else? What else? And then you really get to the deeper why. And then, what difference will this make for you is the next question. And then they articulate it, and then for you to be able to detect the emotion behind it and to bring forward, summarizing what they're sharing with you and how they think and feel about it. Wow. Now they feel that you are on that same page. Okay, let's look, and thank you for that. Elise, can you go ahead and just share the results of the poll? Can y'all see them? Oh, okay. So let me see here. Yeah, confident. somewhat confident I can tell, but I don't know what to do, right? Oh, goody, we're going to help you there. And often a little too late. Yes, yes, indeed. And just the loss of value, time, and resources. Okay, well, thank you. So we can stop sharing there and move forward. So I love those. I love those questions. So thank you. And so, how did let's just become more aware of the counterfeit yeses. And oftentimes, it's in setting follow-up meetings. Very rarely are we in a one-call close business. And when the prospect is vague about timing and details, we kind of feel that they're just kind of placating us. Who wants that? Right. And I'm a believer in when I recognize and vocalize, it seems like you're not quite sure about the value of a next meeting. And so to be able to just recognize and vocalize what you're detecting from the prospect when they are being a little wishy-washy, that is so to be that's a how you can address that kind of thing. And sometimes it takes them aback and it couldn't get them to agree. Yeah, I'm not really interested, or you can get a more of a commitment from them. And also in the beginning of our sales process, you did a demo or you sent a proposal. I have a checklist that I am happy to send anybody before you ever send out a proposal. Go through this checklist, because we're not in the proposal business. Because I think that some people are just sending way too many proposals, hoping the proposal is going to close the deal, and it isn't. So yeah, this looks great. Let's talk about it soon. Oh, eek. Who wants that? And then really asking for commitment. The prospect agrees to move forward, but just starts dragging their feet and delays the actual process. And that's when we really need to filter that out. And that's again, going back to the minute you feel they're getting wishy-washy, have the courage to name it. It seems like, and however you're feeling about that, in order to bring it to the surface, let's find out. Let's bring this forward if you really are interested and committed and willing to take the next step. And then, sure, send me more details. It's kind of like it's how do you handle that? Is send me more details. I always say, I have enough details to fill your email for the next 10 years. What exactly are you looking for? So there are ways that we can go about that. A salesperson, they addresses a problem, the prospect agrees the solution, but they're really avoiding implementation and moving to the next step. And how many times have we landed a curveball? They appear to agree to the terms and conditions, but then they kind of bring up some demands, objections, or changes later. And then a current client, and we all want those testimonials from our happy client, right? A current client agrees to provide a testimonial. Okay, so they agree. And oftentimes, what I have found is it takes time to sit down and think about it. And the best thing that I do is just write it for them and say, hey, are you okay with this? What would you change? And what I'm finding more and more are organizations are wanting video testimonials from their clients, right? From their happy clients. And even a current client, they agree, you ask for a referral, they agree to introduce you to potential clients. So sometimes those can be it just takes time. They don't know how. Sure, I'll do that. And as I bring that up, are there any other areas that you find that counterfeit yeses can show up? No, yeah, okay. So, one of the things is instead of trying to get a yes, going back to decision fatigue, oftentimes when we try to get a yes out of a prospect, they're like, oh, what am I saying yes to? Are you opposed to setting up our next meeting? And say it, happy. Are you opposed to setting up our next meeting? Well, a lot of times it's a no question, which is really a yes. And is it asking too much to ask for your statement before our next meeting, or ask for some kind of information that they need to provide to you that gives you more information? Are you against sharing what is keeping you from moving forward? Right? So there are ways to go. That's the no question. And would it be absurd to suggest we meet next time with your business partner? So, salespeople, we love the yeses. However, if you can ask a no question that's actually a yes question, it can really create a better transition. So that's one thing to know there. And then a yes without a how means nothing. So if they go, sure, I'll refer you, or sure, I'll provide a testimonial, is you have to get the how and get the committed how. So how would you like to structure? Right? So you're now engaging their executive brain. You're just not accepting that how. And how soon can you provide that? So, yeah, I'll send you that information. How soon can you provide that? And then you've got to nail it down, get a commitment, get a due date. And then even knowing you're busy, if I don't receive it by then, what would you suggest I do? And when coaching salespeople, this takes practice, it takes courage, and it is something that is so necessary, because so many salespeople have just things that are dangling out in midair that haven't been nailed down. So, how detailed should they? They go, oh, sure, send me all that details. How detailed should that information be? Okay, so as they're speaking, you're really learning how engaged they are, how committed they are, forcing them to to engage. So I'm going to pause there before we move into, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into some breakout sessions, and you all can have some conversations. So any questions, comments? Go ahead, Dale, please. Oh,
When I'm working with potential clients, one of the things I do if we haven't gotten to where I want by the second call, I literally ask them, do I have your permission to nudge you? They always say, I'm so busy. And once they give me permission, I ask for permission. So now there's no doubt in their mind, I will be calling, and it usually pays off. It never is as quickly as I want, but at least I know I have permission and they're not going to get mad because I literally asked for their permission to nudge them.
I love it. Thanks, Anita. Yes, thank you, Bill.
The question I had for you is, with a number of clients of mine, we've actually developed scripts and they tend to be very brief, but they kind of reinforce that the sales folks are asking questions, not speaking. Are you a fan of scripts? And if so, do you have some examples that you might share?
Well, I'm a fan of formulas, and having a particular formula, and also knowing the sales process. And so yes, And it takes practice and role play. And I think that that is what is missing in so many sales organizations
Hmm.
is having people role play. I actually was working with someone who sold train loads of chemicals to carpet companies and companies. And that is a huge company, a multinational company. And they actually put their salespeople in simulators and on a yearly basis and videotape them and work with them. And I'll tell you, it is brilliant because salespeople, they go and they learn. However, they're not implementing. So it's recognizing, and with my clients yesterday, with 6 of them, we did simulations, they were on camera. And then it was like, what is it that worked? What would you do differently next time? What would you never do again? And then their colleagues came in with positives and also notice this. And so when you really look at ways to stop these breakdowns that salespeople have in the real world, is to be able to have those kind of sessions that they're not there to embarrass or humiliate, they are there to learn and grow. So when you really look at the process, that in the first sales conversation, the salesperson needs to be talking at less than 20 to 30% of the time. And to be able to be listening and mirroring and articulating what they're hearing and not using the word I hear this is important to you. I hear this, I hear that. Anytime a salesperson says, I understand, I hear this, that's your opinion. And that goes back to in Chris Voss's particular Never Split the Difference. It seems like this. And so you didn't put yourself in the middle of it. So I do believe in scripting and formulas that salespeople can have in their mind and know, and those questions that are thought shaping questions that truly can keep that conversation moving forward. They usually start with how and what, and that's where people can really do a better job. So.
Great stuff. I agree. Forgive me. I'm going to need to jump for today, but thank you, Connie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other comments? Questions? Michael, what's resonating here for you?
I think Anita wanted to say something first.
Oh,
You go first.
I know. I was just. I love Chris Voss. I think he's absolutely brilliant.
do you use his system?
Yeah, I've taught it many times because, like you say, it takes the I out. Because when people say, if you say it seems like this, and they go, no, you're not listening. You go, oh, I'm sorry. It just seemed that way. Please tell me.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It creates that. I'm just, like he says, I'm just here to help you. I'm like your professional friend.
Yeah.
There's no comeback to that. It's not aggressive. It's just so calm and gives the person space to be. I think it's fantastic. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Okay, and then Gabriella and then Anita. Gabriella?
Can you give an example of you were just saying like use the words how or what? Can you give an example?
Well, if somebody says, well, what's a commitment somebody would give to you? Or just that, yeah, I'll do that. So share with me and then we'll make it real. That you get. Somebody goes, yeah, send me over your.
Oh yeah, someone that I met that this person needs technicians, and she says, oh yeah, I need like 9 technicians. I will be glad to discuss about this.
Okay, I need, so how do we go about having that kind of discussion? Or are you know, how do we go? Yeah, I'd like to discuss it. How would we go about that? What is, and just, you're asking a question. And then she gets engaged and tells you how she wants to discuss it. And then she'll tell you when to. So you're not, you're moving it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Anita,
thank you.
you're welcome. Anita, go ahead.
So two things. So role playing is good once you have the basic script in your head, and that's kind of almost like learning an elevator pitch. But the biggest value that I find in role playing, like anything else, is to hear yourself and say, that'll never, that just does not roll off my tongue, or I would never say it that way. I think the biggest value of role playing is to figure out how you can take the essence of what the script said and turn it into something that will generally sound conversational when you get on the phone with somebody, when you are in front of somebody. It's to make it your own. It's not to learn how to do it better the way it's written. It's to learn how to morph it into something that will be effective and still capture the essence of what was meant to be conveyed.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Yeah.
And then the other thing about appointment setting is I learned after many times of asking somebody, okay, when do you want to meet? And then they give me the 2 times, or I say, give me 3 times. And I let them choose first. So it's like 3 times I can't make it. And then we're going back and forth. So I've learned that he who asked for the appointment can set the choices that best suit them, like take advantage of it. I look at my calendar, I'm available this time, this time, this time, but you're controlling the conversation, number one. You're putting the question out there, and he who asks the questions wins. And you make sure it's convenient for yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And more people are just sending their calendar link along, right? Send me your calendar link, right? And are we going to get that? So Jacob, did you have something you wanted to share?
No, I just was I appreciated Anita's comments there, and then I was just adding some commentary in the chat, just of the process of simulating different environments, and how sometimes that can be uncomfortable for a lot of people to sort of play pretend, but that's how you grow, is being comfortable in those moments. And the whole saying, practice makes perfect.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so, and then we're gonna have a little bit of time to go here into breakouts. And so, this is Chris Voss. When the pressure is on, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the highest level of your preparation. And it's so true. That's where again it comes by, and it's practice makes perfect. However, not really. You gotta make sure that you're practicing and in a way that you are becoming better and more perfect and better and more engaging. So Alisa, we're gonna go into breakouts. I don't know quite how many people are here. So probably about 3 or 4 people in breakouts. Alisa, are you there?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so, and then, tell me how many rooms they're going to be. And then when you're in your breakouts, so you can introduce yourself briefly, stay on topic, and then I'm gonna give you particular topics you're gonna speak in your breakouts. So Lisa, when it breaks down, how many breakout rooms? Maybe 3 or 4?
Maybe 4, and then 3 to
Okay.
4 participants group.
Okay, so 4 breakouts. And so if you're in breakout room 1, you're going to talk about setting a follow-up meeting, and the prospect is being vague about timing and details. So talk about how you're going to work that out. What are some how questions that you can get a committed yes, or flesh out whether it's a counterfeit yes. Okay, so join in that room. So just I don't know, is that going to make sense? And then if you're in breakout 2, okay, so breakout 1 is going to be Gabriella, Jacob, Monica, and Peter. So that's it, that meeting, follow-up meeting, prospect is vague. Breakout 2 is going to be Anita, Lawrence, and Terry. And it's in response to a proposal where they say, that looks great. Let's talk about it soon. Okay, so you're going to get a committed yes. How are you going to get a committed yes? Yeah. And then breakout 3 is going to be, let's see, Caesar, Connie, and Jackie, and Mitchell. And in the 3, the prospect has agreed to move forward, but is delaying the process, like signing a contract or making a payment. So that's what you're going to be doing in breakout 3. And then in breakout 4, we've got Edmundo, Harold, and Michael. And let's go back to setting up a follow-up meeting where the prospect is being a little bit vague with you. So everybody clear? And we're going to do this for, maybe 10 minutes. And then we'll come back and do takeaways and question and answer, and then you'll be free birds. Okay? Any questions? Okay, go ahead and join your rooms.
Hello,
Hi, Lawrence. You're assigned at room 2.
this is, this is Elisa.
Yes, yes.
So we're all, how many, who should be in the room?
That will
Is it-
be room.
Except Nita and myself. Is Doug on?
Hello.
Um,
I can join
I'm
with
not able
Lawrence
to
because-
participate, Larry, but Anita's here.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
we were supposed to be in the group together. Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm the right.
Do you want to put us back in a room or just stay
No.
here?
Elisa, can you help?
um, maybe if Lawrence preferred to be here, because I need him to accept the room.
How do I need to do that? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I didn't either. Could Anita and Larry be in a room?
Yes,
Supposed
yes.
to be in group 2 together with Terry. We can just talk here. Mhm.
Because I only have option here. We're into move.
Okay, well, why don't you guys talk here, Anita and Larry?
Okay,
Okay, Larry, we got the thing to join. Room 2.
I did not get that yet.
Oh. So Elisa, could you get Larry Lawrence into room 2?
Hold on. Let me assign him to room 4 instead. Because he's already in room 2, so I cannot reassign him in room 2. I need to assign him to another room.
Okay.
Can you see it, Lawrence? Yeah. Yeah, I was able to join room 4.
Mm.
I think I can just assign you to room 1. Will that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know where Larry went because he didn't show up in room 2.
Mm.
Nice to hear your
He
voice,
joined
by the
room.
way.
Thank you. Let me assign you to room 1 with Gabriella and Jacob.
Okay, we're back. So thank you. So just in a few minutes, what are your takeaways from today?
One of the key things we sort of discussed in our group was, mutual respect. Like I used the saying, like, there's plenty of fishes in the sea, like that also applies. And so being able to sort of see that writing on the wall early, because as Anita was saying, time and resources are the same as potential missed opportunities. And so time is one of the most valuable resources for us all.
Yeah, so that mutual respect. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think that it's also not to get stuck with a potential client and continue if there's not an answer, or to go to continue your life and to continue doing business, because sometimes, at least in the past, it happened to me. I stayed there thinking that this person would become a client, and he didn't, and I waste my time, and
Yes.
time is money, as we say in the US. Time is money.
Well, and yes, and then sometimes people go off the radar. I had a client that had just a hot prospect, and it was like so, and all of a sudden the gentleman went off radar, and I mean for 3 months, and then he came back, he goes, my mother passed away and I needed to go up to Vietnam for 3 months. I mean, it just, life happens for some of us. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
So along with what you're saying, because you never know. I mean, when you think about it, because we've all had personal tragedies and you just immediately disconnect, like the business world doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't even exist. You're focused on family. And meanwhile, somebody else may have been, waiting for a call or an email or some kind of follow-up. So if somebody misses an appointment or whatever, the first thing I do, and this works because if they got tied up and didn't remember or didn't have the courtesy to call and they knew they weren't going to make it, my first thing is, oh my goodness, are you okay? Is everything okay? And so instead of saying, I can't believe you missed the flippin' meeting yet again, you know, um, and so it's powerful because first of all, it makes you seem like you're really concerned, which maybe I am. But it's a nice way of saying like, you didn't show up to something. And a lot of times it's not a family tragedy. It's just they got busy. And I give anybody 24 hours if they miss a meeting to reach out to me and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry I forgot. Because once in a great while I'll forget. So you've got 24 hours because no shows are not acceptable in my world. And if you don't respond within 24 hours, then I write you off. And then if you get back to me and say, oh my goodness, my mother passed away, I had to go to Vietnam, then I'm like, oh wow, but no response is not acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. People's schedules. Thank you. Anybody else? What's a takeaway from your being here today? Something that you're going to implement and practice.
Oh, I am so going to make sure I get a how after I get a yes, because I coach salespeople and there's a lot of yeses and not a lot of hows that go with that. So that was a gem.
Ah, thanks, Jackie. Yes. And what is your business? Your salespeople.
Oh, me now. Just at the moment, I've been employed by an insurance company. No one gag. They're all very nice people. Okay, insurance is cool sometimes. So I work for an insurance company that's located in Buffalo, New York. And I'm a remote worker, so I do remote coaching. I think my formal glorified title is sales performance manager. So my clients are the internal clients across the footprint of the company. It's
Good.
probably way too much information than what anyone needed, but I'm trying to be a good ambassador for insurance and say we're not boring. Okay.
And we all need it. Holy smokes. Every one of us is one of those things that we need. Yeah.
Let me say in advance, I apologize for the increase in your premiums. There is really nothing that we can do at the moment. I've got a 42-page document I can send to any of you about why it's happening, if that helps.
Thanks, Jackie. Yes. Okay. Well, Harold, you hung in here with us. He's got a fascinating nonprofit. Do you want to just share with us what your nonprofit is? And then is there any, I mean, in your nonprofit, do you have to ask for contributions from time to time?
Yeah, so Connie, thank you very much, and greetings, friends. I run a non-profit organization called Eyes Open International, which is registered under 501c3 in the US, and it is focused on prevention, education, protection, and empowerment of victims, survivors, community members worldwide. I do, like you said rightly, that I've got a mega conference coming up next year. I had to do a fundraising. I think tomorrow is the last day. It was of $1,000, and one non-profit organization was to manage that. So I've reached the goal of $925, short of 75, which I know will happen by tomorrow. But I just want to share with all of you that I am a survivor of labor trafficking and debt bondage in the United States of America. So I conduct a lot of meetings. I always go by the probe, what Mother Teresa said: do not waste time judging people, just love them. I interact with a lot of victim survivors. Their actions or behaviors are negative. Their intentions are good. They have gone through trauma. Trauma has no expiration date. So whenever I receive criticism, I accept them as compliments. And you always have to understand, many times I talk to people, they are like busy doing something, or they might be on their phone, and I think that they're not concentrating or they're not listening. But those people are the most impressive and powerful people. They go back and take action. They make things happen for whatever I might have communicated with them. That's one. Number two, as I do when I do presentations, I always ensure how the audience will go engaged, enlightened, inspired, educated. So getting the audience engaged in the conversation should be my responsibility. If they're not engaged, then it is not their mistake. It is my mistake that I'm not doing my job right. So I always take it on myself that I need to change. I'm not doing something right. So that is the way I operate. Thank you. Thank you for supporting Eyes Open International. Join me on LinkedIn. Join me on social media. There is, I think Michael will share with you, there is a Hollywood and Bollywood documentary and film coming up on me very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Harold. And thank you for coming today. And then I'm putting in chat, I do a class where there's just a tremendous amount of practice and role play on using the techniques that trust-based influencing on from Never Split the Difference. And implementation is the key. So feel free to check that out. And thank you. And so in closing is just, I think, to remember a yes without a how means nothing. So Jackie already brought that one home. So thanks again, and we'll get this recording out to you. It's lovely to see all of you, and I see there's a lot of different things going on in the chat. You can grab that chat and make a copy of it if you feel it'd be important, and connect with each other on LinkedIn. So,
Thanks, Connie.